Welcome back to Get a Grip on Lighting. On today's show, we have Heather McCune. Heather is a dynamic and experienced leader in the lighting industry. With 20 years of expertise, she brings knowledge and creativity to her role as Vice President of Sales and Operations at Barron Lighting Group. Her dedication and commitment are evident as she works closely with the marketing, brand, and engineering teams to ensure success in today's sales landscape. It's tough out there right now, Greg. As Vice President of Sales and Operations, she oversees sales productivity and effectiveness for Barron. This includes strategic planning, reporting, quota setting, management, sales process optimization, and training programs. She also plays a vital role in recruiting the top talent. Heather's leadership and strong partnerships have led to Barron's continued sales success. Heather has shaped Barron Lighting Group into a company known for integrity, innovation, and quality products. With her drive and track record, it's no wonder she excels as Vice President of Sales and Operations at a leading lighting company. Greg, before we get to talk to Heather McCune, which I'm very excited to do, I want everyone here to go to barronltg.com. That's Barron Lighting Group, Greg Eric.
That's right. And you got to check out their Exitronix Guardian G3, Guardian G3 remote lighting, emergency lighting monitoring, and automatic reporting. We're going to talk about an opportunity today out in the marketplace. And I was at a site today where they could have used this because they walk around and physically touch every fixture on a monthly or quarterly, whatever their time frame is. You don't need to do that with this system. This allows you the ability to connect up to 100 emergency lighting units on one gateway. You can do up to 24 gateways. That means 2,350 fixtures per location that you can put on this system. They can test, monitor, and give you the reports without a person having to do it. I love it. Great opportunity in the lighting industry right now, the Guardian G3.
Yeah, that's really exciting. See, we always talk about real applications for lighting controls, and I know I'm going to talk about a great lighting controls course that Neil is putting on. But sometimes I've been a little bit skeptical but this is an awesome application because you're not talking about energy savings or anything. You're talking about eliminating that 330, that 300, reducing your costs on management and people's work and getting things off their portfolios, like going around and pushing buttons on exit signs for the rest of their lives. So go to barronltg.com for lots of wonderful lighting products. Greg, if you have light bulbs, you got light bulbs in a warehouse, right?
I do. Yeah,
I got light bulbs in the warehouse. All the top Gs in lighting have light bulbs in a warehouse. You know that? They all members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's NAILD.org. If you want to be a top G in lighting and you have light bulbs in a warehouse, you got to join NAILD. Greg, we're doing this NAILD certification for controls, advanced certification for NAILD controls at Lightivation in June. Check out the website. It'll be in the link to the description. We had a big fight about creating that website. It took a long time, but we got it done. It's up now. You can register online at NAILD.org. The link is in the description. And of course, Greg, you're not a chump.
Not a chump.
Not a chump, man.
I'm going to Light Fair.
You're going to be in Vegas?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
get there.
buddy. Yeah. May 4th through 8th in beautiful Las Vegas. And we are now joined by the dynamic, the experienced leader, Heather McCune. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. I loved your bio. That was awesome.
Thank you. I feel like I owe my marketing team lunch after hearing all of that. So thank you. Happy to be here.
So, often we distributors, there's kind of, I would say, Greg, would you say there's like kind of a emergency lighting industry that's all on its own? And some distributors kind of dabble in it a little bit, but they should really take the full plunge. And when I hear about stuff like that, high value products, first of all, how old is the product? When did you guys come up with it? And have you been having success in the field with it?
So this version of it has been in the market for about a year now that we launched the Guardian G3. However, it's something that we've had different variations in design for probably about 10 years, something we've been working on. And we actually have had some pilot programs in place for over 3 years of this version before we launched it with some pretty big campus locations. One of the things that we altered for this version of G3 when we went to the market is not having to be on Wi-Fi. Obviously, in today's environment with hacking and security breach, we wanted to make sure we had a simple solution that could be just managed on site that would still reduce all all of that labor and maintenance of walking a building, walking a campus, whatever those things are to test. So this version still has tremendous labor savings, but you don't have to be online to control that data. So it has a lot of security benefits as well. But and sorry, your second question. Yes, we're seeing a great influx of quotes and orders. Obviously, this is something that is spec'd in most cases, so that takes some time to build up. But we're really seeing that. At the beginning of the year has been very strong with orders and a lot more quoting of this product.
And I could see this being, to me, it's like a lighting retrofit where you come in and we do them all the time. You go in and you change all the product and you make it new. But this is exit emergency can be a retrofit. You can
Yeah.
come in and do that. You can say, even if you have LED exit signs right now, maybe they're in bad. I was at a place today, you could barely even see the word exit on it, and they're LED, but they've been
Yeah.
around for 15 years or whatever. So upgrade all the stuff, get the system, make it a retrofit. Is that what you're seeing that these people sell it as?
Yeah, absolutely. You do need the new exit and emergency signage. We obviously are, everything is UL 924 compliant, so you have to make sure you have your UL compliance in the fixtures. We do have an emergency driver, and that's kind of exciting because that can be a retrofit on existing non-emergency fixtures. So on your flat panels, on your center baskets in a conference room, you can just add the driver and use those for UL 924 path of egress. So that's exciting because that does not have to be Barron product. That does not have to be new product. And then as we were making product selections, we did a variety. You've got wet location, you've got thermoplastic, you've got edge lit. There's a good variety of exit and emergency product, but putting it in thermoplastic keeps the unit price down. We see an ROI of under a year on all the jobs that we've laid out. So when you factor in the maintenance of not having to hit the test buttons, not have to cut building power and walk a building, all the traditional ways, when you're talking about monthly, having a written log, if we're actually following UL 924 to have a written log of compliance on a 30-second test every month and 90-minute annually, it adds up quickly with time and labor.
So one thing that I've always wondered, and I'm a lighting professional, I should know this, but how do I understand how many exit and emergency lights should be in a building? Who helps with that layout? Who's in charge of that? Is it the fire marshal? Is it Exitronix? Is it Heather?
No, it's not me, it's not Exitronix.
Okay.
That is really done at the building design. I think in your, it could be a specifier, your lighting designers, right? They're putting that on the building plans. So if it's hitting our desk, we're happy to, make product selections, but we're not doing the mapping of this in the sense of telling you where to put it. We can make recommendations, but that's it's kind of at the beginning. You're looking at plans to determine that, and replacing exit signs are rather easy, right? Those are usually a 1-for-1 replacement. If you're talking about redoing your layouts with if you've got an old building plan, we see a lot of those where you had incandescent emergency lighting.
Sure.
You'd want to have somebody relay that out for you because the efficiency and spacing is so much better in today's technology. Right, I don't know, when I started at Barron, right, you had spacing that was 15, 18, 25 feet on center spacing, and now we're up to 125 feet spacing. So you could reduce your fixture count of emergency lighting by having that laid out again. But Barron, yeah.
So most lighting distributors like Greg and I, we're going to be in the built environment, right? So we're going to be consulting with buildings that already are built. Whereas I think this is a natural specification to new construction in a smarter building or a smart building or whatever they want to call it. But I also see a play here, Greg, like you're talking about. But the way I would do it is I always see an exit sign, replace an exit sign. I don't, if there was a way that we would, we could have access to these like a training program and to teach people how to specify this or something like that. I think a lot more emergency lighting could be sold by distributors. No,
I know it could.
Yeah,
I know it could. I'm
for
telling you,
sure.
like, because it's something that I'm as guilty as anybody. I overlook it all the time. Did a big facility today. I was counting all the lights, and I was like, oh, they got exit signs, but I didn't even count them. It's like, do everything. Why not? No,
Totally.
it's in every building. Exit and emergency light. Every building has that. That's the one constant in lighting, right? Every building has them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's something that we got to just get into more, and I think it's comfort level, like knowing. To Mike's point, there's one there, I can put one there, and I'm good. But are
Yeah,
we, or
knock
do
the
you need one
arrows
there?
out the same as it was where it
Yeah,
was.
exactly what it looked like. I don't remember.
Just
Put it back.
Oh, oh.
that's what happens with all. I guarantee you,
Oh,
like
I
Oh,
know.
90% of the top G's, they're doing it that way.
yep.
I know. I know, and you somehow you sell exit signs and, like, I love this, and then I'm like, "Oh, what about the aesthetic of an edgelit? No, it'd be so beautiful," and so I know we geek out different for sure. I walk through places and I'm, constantly looking at, is this the right aesthetic, or that's not wet location listed and it should be, or damp listed. You can tell by looking at fixtures. So, definitely the opportunity there to add value for sure.
Yeah. So I know you kind of we were talking about before, but it is local code then that tells you what you need for emergency lighting levels,
Mhm.
and it varies across the board. I mean, what do you see as, and if you could put an average on it, like 1 foot candle on
You're
acres, is it?
yeah, you're always gonna have it varies, like, you'll see red and green for the exit signs, right? There's different municipalities. It doesn't even have to be at the state level that's gonna determine red, green, right? So you have to know local code. But you're always gonna see a 1 foot candle. It depends on whether it's a min or an average, and again, we're not doing a lot of those lighting layouts, but you'll notice you know I'll say for most manufacturers, they're going to have the IES files provided that are going to let you lay that out. And there's kind of a standard that we all use on a mounting height that gives you that path of egress. So usually a 3 foot or a 6 foot path of egress, right? Kind of your width of lighting as you're exiting and creating that. So 3 foot and 6 foot are pretty common that you're seeing. But once you kind of know what you're working with in an area and what the code is, everything has to operate with UL 924 for 90 minutes as the minimum. There are certain areas that require a longer runtime, and that can be accommodated very easily. um, and then you're going to have other anomalies as well, but it's actually pretty straightforward. You have to do a 30-second test every 30 days, a 90-minute test on an annual basis, and that is across the United States. There's no getting around that. So everything that's UL 924 is going to have that minimum.
You said 30 seconds every 30 days, and
hmm
what was the
and
second one?
then 90 minutes on an annual basis.
Annual. Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
that helps. And
Yep.
when you do these payback calculations for people that are looking at, you know, like your Guardian G3 system, like you factor that in. So you say, okay,
hmm
that's operating savings there, right? How much time does that take
Absolutely.
to do? Yeah.
Yep.
I want to do
And it
some
is a
math on that.
written
You guys
log,
have a, yeah,
right? We
yeah.
do for our agents, and I'm happy to share that with you. Our agents do have a portal where they can log in and run that data, but um, you factor in the hours of operation as well, right? If you have, I always think, because I think sometimes people think of G3 of volume, right? You've got a big warehouse, a big office, a high rise, and that's absolutely an appropriate application. Schools, universities, you name it. But even if you think of like a strip mall where you have a barber and a bar, and you've got these multitude of things that you as the facility owner are ultimately responsible for that written log. So when you do those tests, you have to write it down, and you have to keep, I believe, the record for 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, of that. So you can't just test and tell somebody, yeah, I did it. You have to prove that you did it. And so with this system, it stores that data. It's exportable in Excel. You can email it. You can keep all of your logs however you want, but you do have a automatic testing and protection there. But when you just think about operating hours, if you are in a strip mall environment and you do have a bar, right, you want your life safety. You don't want that in the middle of it being occupied. You don't want to have people in. You have different operating hours. So it really gives you the control and flexibility there as well, to not come back to a job site multiple times or have to test or have to work with a manager of a storefront, right, to know when it's appropriate to come in and out to do your testing also.
So is there no do you miss the disruption of the 90 minutes once a year as well? Like does it test without having to turn off all the energy to the building or whatever?
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't have to cut building power. So the great thing about the G3 is and we leave it up. When we do the initial setup, part of what Barron offers with this service is we do an initial commissioning so that fixtures can be installed. So you don't have the additional labor of setup in the field. If a customer wanted to handle it themselves, they could. But part of what we do is we map, we lay everything out, and then we name the fixtures with the location on the mapping the customer provides at their their discretion and their desires. And then we set up the testing however they want, and each fixture can test at its own time, however they want it to do. So again, I'll use that strip mall because you'd probably have, or if you have different floors of a building, you may not want them to go all at once. So yeah, if you're in a bar and you want your emergency lighting to test at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. because it's not occupied, you can control that. And that can be different than the barber, down the way. And you can control all of those individual fixture testing. And then we've built in a safety built in automatically, so that, let's just pretend that gets set up and then somebody accidentally erases it. The system itself is built in automatically to have safeguards where it will still test. It may not be under your control at your specified time if somebody turns off that set, time that was scheduled, but it will automatically guarantee compliance by doing the mandatory testing every 30 days, or within 30 days, I should say, at that point, and annually. So you're guaranteed to be covered if somebody were to go in and mess with settings, which
That,
I
that can
don't
happen.
anticipate would happen.
Yeah, but can happen sometimes. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember back in the early days of sensors, Greg. Sometimes they would, for some reason, a voltage surge or something, it would default back to the factory setting, which was the most common setting of the sensor, or 10-minute time delay or 5-minute. I can't remember what it was, but it
Yeah.
sounds like it's the same thing. People can print out these reports if the inspector comes knocking.
Yep. They could
So
also test on the spot. So if somebody questioned it and kind of was like, yeah, prove it, I want to see this fixture go in a test, you could find the fixture you're standing underneath. You could force a 30-second test. Light would turn on immediately, whatever time period you want. If you wanted to do a 5-minute test to show them that it was compliant, but you can check the status of anything that's pass and fail, full reports, everything.
Got some more random exit and emergency questions. Maybe you can answer.
Sure. Okay, I'll
I'm starting
try.
to see, the exterior piece. I see that on some buildings, but I don't really totally understand it and why it's in certain places and why it's not. It's where I've seen it typically is multi-housing, maybe outside of an exit door, outside on the
Hmm.
wall. But I'm
Yep.
starting to see wall packs and different things like that. When and why and who's doing exterior emergency lighting?
Code is going to determine. I suppose you could also have a preference, right? I'm sure that there are people that do lighting design that have a preference because of maybe how they were trained. There's nothing wrong with extra life safety and extra path of egress, but typically that just means that, again, assuming that you don't have other general lighting on the outside of the building, because that may not have the same requirements, the path of egress outside of the door, like the man doors as we refer to them, just make sure that there's a little extra light that gives that path of egress, to get all the way out of the building in the event of a complete power failure. Just a little
Mike, are you
safer,
running into
a little
exterior
extra.
emergency lighting? I don't know if I've ever.
I don't think I have never heard of that. I mean, there
Okay.
might be
Yeah.
some that are in multi-residential high-rise where you do have
Mhm.
the light on the generator circuit outside the door. I have never seen anything battery powered. I've only seen things that are on generators where the generator controls this, stairwell lights, some corridor lights, and some
Sure.
outdoor lights, but never with battery packs. But yes, I have seen it with on multi-residential like you have, but I don't think I've ever seen it on commercial particularly.
Yeah, I saw it on like one building. I didn't know how common it was, but yeah, I've never really sold it.
I, and I would say we sell a pretty good amount of what we would kind of define as a wall pack that's UL 924 compliant, for that application. We sell quite a bit of it, so it's definitely a code that's been in place for a while. But again, probably just different municipalities, or again, different preference. You're always going to have a personal preference too, and as long as that personal preference exceeds the compliance, then you're going to be fine there as well.
Makes sense. When do you think, or do you know, when exiting and emergency lighting became a thing in buildings? Like I assume the first buildings when they first had lighting didn't have it, but at some point they had to. When was that? We know.
Oh gosh, and I don't want to be wrong on this, but I seem to
That's
remember,
all.
and there was a fire, and I want to say it was, I don't know, 1920-ish, I believe, is where it kind of started, where there was a tremendous loss of life because people could not exit the building. And I have my marketing team in here. Diane, was that in Chicago? I think it was Chicago. Don't quote me on all of this, but I know I've heard
No,
heard
that's
stories. But
more than I know.
it was a tremendous loss of life is what started that, where people just could not find their way out. People are running in different directions. There's no clear right. I think there was even in that story that I heard only one exit that you could even get, in and out of a building. So it was just very, very tragic story. And that's, I think, where things started. So I don't like the sales strategy of having to sell on all of those sad stories of how it came to be, but that is the reality of it. It's called life safety for a reason. It exists in the what you hope are the situations that never occur, but you don't want to not be prepared for it, in one of those environments. So
I don't like it any more than you, Heather. But you know what?
yeah,
The fact is that sales strategy works. Those kind of sales strategies, when you point out safety, particularly when you're dealing with a corporate environment. So if you have somebody that's in the corporate head office and somebody that's at a branch or something like that, and you tell the person at the corporate head office urgent safety violations, man, they respond quick.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know why that is. You
It,
tell them energy savings, but if you say there's a safety violation, you put urgent in the email subject, safety violation, boom, they get back to you right away. They want to
yeah.
know about that safety violation.
Absolutely. And I think, and again, it's we see it just so different all over the country. Again, one of the jobs we recently sold for G3 was because it was a warehouse environment that they had failed, I believe, their walkthrough, a fire marshal or an inspector that had done, and they were given a certain period to maintain compliance or see extensive fines. And again, I'm not saying that's the right answer, but it certainly makes people pay attention when you're talking about thousands of dollars. And we've heard those stories of jobs needing emergency lighting very rapidly because of non-compliance and seeing fines to the tune of $10,000. So I guess that's numbers speak, right? When you're going to be paying for non-compliance as well, but it's
Right.
important.
Do you was it called photoluminescence exit sign? Is that still a thing? Where uh,
It is. It's hand in hand with tritium, right? And tritium, it kind of it ebbs and flows. We'll go through a period of time where we see a ton of it and we're recycling a ton of it, and then other times where, but it's job specific, right? Photoluminescent and tritium are both obviously where you don't have power. Photoluminescent has an extra kicker where you have to have some sort of general lighting and enough general lighting to power it, right? There has to be enough ambient lighting to kind of make sure there's going to be that compliance. But I would say tritium's a little more popular still than photoluminescent, at least in what we see in sales.
So tritium is where they used. You got to pay your hydro bill there, Greg.
I
Just
know
for
we'll
those
get there.
listening, Greg's lighting control system is not properly commissioned. Yeah, but the tritium is where they use a little bit of nuclear energy. Is that correct to say?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like tritium tubes, like the gas tubes, and
Yeah.
and there's government regulations on that. So
Hmm.
we don't control any of that. Um, I always kind of tease people, don't yell at me about the form you have to fill out. We have to register that with
Sure.
it's a federal government requirement when we ask for where things are shipping, where they're installing, and that's usually why you see extended lead times. Nobody's really stocking a tritium sign because you're sourcing that based on regulation. The same with recycling. You must recycle that and go through the process. So most manufacturers will handle the recycling for you as well, but there's paperwork. Gotta track where it's at and where it's going.
I think it's called Americinium 604 or something like that is the exact isotope that's in them. But the thing about these were really attractive and but they're expensive to dispose of when they at their end of life.
They
That's the
are.
downside of
Yeah.
tritium. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's there's no energy. It's like what's that rocket they shot out that's still got the nuclear. What's the name of that? I'm gonna lose it right here. But there's a spaceship that United States NASA launched in the 70s that was still delivering information on the same type of system from I can't remember what the
Okay.
name of that ship was. But yeah, this stuff works, but we have to manage it correctly. And so you guys still do tritium based emergency lighting jobs.
We do. We still see it.
Wow.
Again, it's not nearly as common, but and again, a lot
Wow.
of it's probably what we started this conversation with whatever's there, you replace, right?
Sure.
If somebody
Yes.
had tritium, that means there's no power. You're doing a one for one,
Yes.
so it's kind of a an easy sales swap. That's what they have.
Yes.
You see it a lot still in movie theaters where they like the low level exits
Right.
today are bright, LEDs are bright and low energy. So you're not supposed to dim an exit sign. So tritium gives you the lower light levels that are more preferred aesthetically for that application. So it might be why you see it in those as well.
Okay. I'm just going to Google that
Mhm.
NASA rocket right now just so I figure it out here. Hang on
Got to
one sec.
find that.
I got to find it right now.
Yeah, no, I think just as a whole, just it's something that I feel is overlooked a lot by the lighting industry. The exit emergency is something that we just got to get more into, and I think it's a great opportunity for everyone in the distributors and everyone involved, contractors, to really assess that in addition to assessing everything else, because we're already doing it. Um,
Yeah.
and why not do that? Why don't we add it, Mike? Why do I just not do it? I'm going to start tomorrow. Okay,
You know what? I
I'm going to
dabble in it.
start.
That's my problem. I dabble.
I know.
I get
I
hot on
dabble in
it,
it
and
too.
and I'll do it. I just did a one where we did a whole bunch of emergency lighting in this factory that they were renovating, and we did a bunch of emergency lighting for them. And we actually brought in. There's a company in Toronto that does specifications. It'll go out and they work with distribution, and they go out and they do the specification. They tell you your bill of materials and all this kind of stuff. But I always forget. I don't know why I always forget, but I do, Greg. I gotta get
Well,
in. I gotta put it in the top pocket. Pull it out. Another 20,000 on the table. Come on, let's go
let's
with
do
the
it.
emergency lighting.
Just email my team. We'll cross everything over. We'll
For
tell you.
sure.
We'll make recommendations.
Heather, do you have any final thoughts for the Get a Grip on Lighting audience as we come up to the end of the show?
Obviously, with just we're here to help. I mean, Barron Lighting Group as a whole is just here to help. We have 4 divisions. Obviously, Exitronix is where Barron got started as a whole, but there's 4 brands, and so just service is everything. If we can help in any way on any one of the categories, whether it's education or making product selections, we're here to support our teams. So anything we can do, just let us know.
And the name of that spaceship was Voyager 1 and 2, just so everyone knows.
There you go.
Folks, I want you to go to nald.org. I want you to go to Barron Lighting Group. Also, barronltg.com for Exitronix. And what are the other 3 brands that you guys have there, Heather?
Sure. So we have Trace Light, that's our industrial lighting, Specialty LED, which is decorative, RGB, tape light, rope light, things of that nature, and then Grow Light, which is indoor grow.
Indoor grow. You got a lot of high end smart equipment there. Grow lights are definitely another interesting topic we could unpack on Get a Grip on Lighting as well, for sure.
Absolutely.
BarronLTG.com. If you got light bulbs in a warehouse and you want to be with the top G's, you go to NALD.org. That's right. Greg, what are we going to go through? We got a convention in September. We got an educational program in June at Lightovation. Just don't be a chump. Go to Light Fair, see you there, and then I'm going to twist your arm. You're going to come to all the rest as well. Go to NALD.org, lightfair.com. What else, Greg?
I think you nailed it all there, bud. Go everywhere.
Go everywhere.
Do everything.
That's what we do. Thanks for listening, and Heather McCune, thank you for joining us.